Title: From Long Locks to a Chic Bob, A Transformative Haircut Journey. Chapter 1: The Decision. Lena had always been known for her long, flowing hair. It was her signature, the first thing people noticed when they met her. It wasn't just long, it was thick, glossy, and always meticulously styled. It felt like an extension of herself, an inseparable part of who she was. She loved the compliments, the admiring glances, the way people would ask her what hair products she used. It was flattering, of course. But lately, something had shifted. Lena was no longer sure if she wanted to be the girl with long hair. It had been a year since she had felt truly excited about her look. Each time she stood in front of the mirror, brushing through the heavy strands, she couldn't help but feel suffocated by them. They had started to feel like a burden, weight on her shoulders, a constant reminder of something she wasn't sure she still wanted to be. It was a late evening when the idea first came to her. Lena was on her phone, scrolling through social media while curled up in her favorite armchair. She paused when a picture of a woman with a sleek, chin-length bob appeared on her feed. The bob was sharp, elegant, and timeless, with soft waves that bounced around her face effortlessly. It looked fresh, modern, and liberating. For the first time in a long time, Lena felt a spark of excitement, something she hadn't felt about her hair in years. She studied the photo for a long time, imagining how she might look with such a bold transformation. It was a complete departure from her current look, but something about it called to her. For the first time in a long while, she felt as though she could see herself in a different light, her face framed by the shorter, more liberated haircut, free from the weight that had kept her tethered to the past. Her heart raced at the thought of it. Could she do it? Could she let go of her long locks and embrace something so different? For the first time in a long time, the idea of change didn't scare her. Instead, it felt like a chance to rediscover herself, to shed the weight of years spent hiding behind her hair. She could be anyone, anything. Lena took a deep breath and dialed her stylist, Grace. The woman who had seen her through countless transformations, always supporting her choices. She knew Grace would understand. "Grace," Lena said, her voice trembling slightly. "I think I'm ready to cut my hair." There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by Grace's voice, warm and enthusiastic. "I love it." "A bob, right?" Lena smiled, surprised by the certainty in Grace's voice. "Yes, I think I want to go for it. It's time for something new." Chapter 2: The Transformation. The morning of her haircut arrived, and Lena's nerves were a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She hadn't realized how attached she had become to her long hair until she stood in front of the mirror, running her fingers through it one last time. This was it, the final time she'd see herself with the hair she had worn for so long. When Lena arrived at the salon, Grace greeted her with a knowing smile. "You ready to be reborn?" she teased, her eyes twinkling. Lena laughed, though her stomach was in knots. "I think so. But I can't lie, I'm a little scared." "Scared is good. It means you're ready for something new," Grace reassured her, gesturing for Lena to sit in the chair. "Let's do this." As Grace brushed through her long hair, Lena closed her eyes, feeling a wave of nostalgia. She thought about all the memories attached to it, the first kiss, the first heartbreak, the summers spent laughing with friends, and the years of hiding behind it whenever she felt insecure. Her hair had been a shield, a barrier that kept the world from seeing her vulnerabilities. But today, she was choosing to shed that shield. The first snip was like a declaration. She felt the scissors slice through her hair, and her breath caught in her throat. It was real. She was really doing this. Each strand that fell to the floor felt like a weight lifting off her shoulders. But even as she felt the freedom starting to settle in, there was a pang of sadness. It was hard to say goodbye to something that had been so familiar for so long. Grace continued to work, her hands moving with precision and confidence. The sound of the scissors seemed louder in the otherwise quiet salon, and Lena couldn't help but watch as the long strands fell away. She felt a mix of emotions, relief, excitement, and even a twinge of grief. It was like watching a part of herself fade away, but it was also like the beginning of something new, something brighter. After what felt like an eternity, Grace took a step back and gave Lena a smile of approval. "It's done. Take a look." Lena slowly opened her eyes and turned toward the mirror. For a moment, she didn't recognize the reflection staring back at her. Her face, now framed by the sharp lines of the bob, was suddenly so much more exposed. Without the heavy curtain of hair, she could see her eyes more clearly, the curve of her jaw, the softness in her cheeks. She looked different, but in a way that felt more real, more authentic. She looked like the woman she was becoming. Lena reached up to touch her new bob, the soft waves grazing her fingers. It felt light, lighter than she had ever felt in years. It was like the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders. She smiled, feeling a sense of freedom wash over her. "You're stunning," Grace said softly, watching Lena's reaction. "This is you." For the first time in so long, Lena believed it. Chapter 3: The Embrace of Change. Leaving the salon, Lena was surprised by how natural her new look felt. She had expected to feel out of place, like she had betrayed the version of herself she had always known. But instead, there was a lightness to her steps, a sense of confidence she hadn't experienced in years. As she walked down the street, the wind caught her bob, and she couldn't help but laugh. It felt so different, so liberating. She had imagined how it might feel to have short hair, but the reality was even better than she had hoped. When she got home, her best friend Mia was waiting for her. Mia had been with Lena through every chapter of her life, the awkward teenage years, the breakups, the celebrations, and the quiet moments. Lena knew Mia would understand her decision, even if it surprised her. When Mia saw Lena standing in the doorway, her jaw dropped. "Lena, oh my God, you look incredible." Mia rushed forward, running her hands through Lena's hair in disbelief. "This is amazing. It suits you so perfectly." Lena smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I feel free, like I'm finally being myself." The next few days were a whirlwind of compliments and awe. Friends, family, even strangers on the street stopped to tell her how beautiful her new look was. But it wasn't just about the bob, it was about how Lena felt inside. She felt empowered, like she was standing taller, both literally and figuratively. Her mom, who had always adored Lena's long hair, was the last person to see the change. At first, her mother was silent, her eyes scanning Lena's new look with a mixture of surprise and admiration. After a moment, her mom smiled softly, her eyes glistening. "You look so much like me when I was your age. It suits you more than I ever imagined." Lena felt a rush of emotion. It wasn't just about the haircut, it was about embracing her own identity, shedding old versions of herself, and stepping into the woman she was meant to be. Her hair had always been a reflection of who she was, but now it was a reflection of who she was becoming. Chapter 4: A New Beginning. Weeks passed, and Lena settled into her new look. The bob became more than just a haircut, it became a symbol of change and self-empowerment. She learned to style it in ways that highlighted her features, experimenting with different textures and waves. Sometimes it was sleek and polished, and other times it was messy and carefree, reflecting her mood. Lena's transformation wasn't just external, it was internal as well. She had learned to embrace change, to shed the past and make room for new possibilities. Her haircut was a reflection of that newfound freedom. One evening, as she stood in front of the mirror, brushing through her bob, Lena realized just how far she had come. She had taken a leap of faith, and in doing so, she had found a part of herself she didn't even know was there, a stronger, more confident version of herself, ready to take on whatever life had in store. Epilogue: The Power of Change. Lena knew that change was never easy, but sometimes the smallest transformations could lead to the greatest growth. Cutting her hair had been a symbol of letting go of the past, of embracing her own strength and beauty in a new light. And as she walked out the door each day, her bob bouncing with every step, she carried with her the realization that she was no longer hiding behind anything. She was living authentically, with the wind in her hair and her heart full of endless possibilities. The bob wasn't just a haircut. It was a statement.